Hi again. I'm Joe Connolly with producer Neil A. Carousso, who will join us as well. You know the song, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. But who ever heard of a bagel company from Connecticut making it in New York City? Adam Goldberg of Popup Bagels of Reading, Connecticut, is now frequently selling out in the city of the bagels that they bring in from Connecticut. Adam, how did you crack into the New York City market?
We were making great bagels in Connecticut, and the nice thing about I actually live in Westport, Connecticut. In the area I live, there's a lot of weekenders who come out from the city, and it was probably we started this in December of 2020, and it was that summer where people started asking, like, "Hey, I'm going back to New York. Can I grab an extra dozen so I can bring it to my family?" And I would say, "Well, wait a second. Like, you live in New York. There's bagels there." And they were like, "No, but yours are better. You need to come to New York." So we borrowed some kitchens in New York and started cooking there. And, it kind of took off. Danny Meyer, who lives in Washington, Connecticut, had a taste of our bagels. And he immediately was, at the point where he said, "We need to get you into Daily Provisions," which is one of his concepts in New York. And, last fall we went into Daily Provisions and sold out all of our bagels, and they made some amazing sandwiches with them, and it just kind of keeps rolling from there.
Now, how were you selling in Westport? Did you have a little storefront?
Yeah, so I started in Westport actually selling with a Connecticut cottage license out of my house. And at one point the state called me, and they saw how much business we were doing, and they actually said, "We're going to give you about a month to find a real kitchen because you're not legally allowed to be selling, tens of thousands of dollars worth of bagels out of your house."
Right.
So we wound up borrowing some kitchens from local restaurateurs here that we were able to partner with.
But you did have a storefront in Westport. I'm just trying to find out how you had that initial response.
The initial response was from, honestly, just from people hearing about my bagels. I was making them for friends, and then friends of friends wanted them, and friends of their friends wanted them. And we set up a website called popupbagels.com and let people buy them in advance, and we would cook them at whichever location we were at that day.
So that's really incredible that you did it all by word of mouth eventually to people from the city who wanted to take them back. There was no
Yeah.
storefront at all.
We don't have a storefront. We do have two properties that we use right now as commissaries and bake spots, but they're never open. They're only available for pickups on Friday through Sunday and only by advanced order.
It's like this is a bagel shop that's so exclusive you can't get into it. You won't be able to find it. It has no address on the door.
Listen, the truth is there's no sign on the door. We are not listed with an address. And occasionally people will come and they'll say, "Hey, I couldn't find you. Why isn't there a sign on the door?" And I said, "Because if you can't find me, that's good, because we don't want 100 people who don't have orders showing up. We won't have bagels for them. Everything we make is cooked fresh to order for your specific order at that time."
And Neil will get into that in a second. My other question right now, though, just briefly, what is it about your bagels that makes them so different and so much better than many others?
I think the size, the consistency of the crust and the crumb combination brings them back to kind of an old world New York bagel. Over the years, and we did a study on this, in the 80s when the bagel shop was born and people started, bagel shops became delis, so to speak, with tuna salad and, different spreads you can put on. All of a sudden, everyone wanted a bigger sandwich, bigger sandwich. And the average bagel in New York right now is over 150 grams, where our bagel is about 105 to 110 grams. So you don't eat it and then feel like you need to take a nap. You kind of eat it and you basically feel like you want a second one.
There you go. Neil.
Well, I see they're gobbling it up in the Hamptons in your new pop-up. So
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want people knowing where you are. You don't have a storefront, yet you're finding these customers. Where are you finding them? And I guess more importantly, how are they finding you?
Yeah, great question. Instagram has certainly been helpful. I can't take any credit away from that. Our whole marketing budget is spent on Instagram, which is amazing because it's essentially free. And then it's really just word of mouth. I mean, we have people who will eat our bagel that I've never met before, and I'll get an email from them saying, "Oh my, that was the best thing I've ever eaten, and I've now told 10 friends about it." And then I get another email that says, "That's the best thing I've ever eaten, but I'm not telling anyone about it because it was too hard to get this time."
Wow.
That's interesting. And we're seeing the Instagram photos here that you provided us. You know, people may not think that there's a ton of innovation in bagels, but you actually have a subscription model to this. So what is that, and how do you separate yourself in the bagel business?
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Livingston, New Jersey, and we always, every weekend, went to Livingston Bagel, bought a dozen bagels, would come home, throw them on the middle of the table. And as a family, we would eat bagels. And that was kind of like, you know, almost, you know, like a pizza night or something. And what I think the world has gone to in the bagel world is people standing in line for half an hour, getting a sandwich made for them, a sandwich made for someone else, and then they kind of just go home and eat their sandwich. So what our subscription model did was it basically said, hey, we're going to make a tradition now. And every Saturday at 8 o'clock, we're going to pick up a fresh dozen bagels and we're going to come home. We're going to either throw them on our kitchen counter or we're going to share them with a neighbor. And we're going to create tradition that this is a weekly thing we do. We have 450 people who do that in Connecticut right now.
Do you deliver them? You deliver them, don't you?
We do not deliver. We have very quick drive up and pickup counters. So again, because everything we do is timed specifically, there's no bagel line at our store. Also because there's no line because we don't take orders at the store. But if you have an 8 o'clock reservation every week, when you come up at 8 o'clock, you just give our bagel bouncers, what we call them, your name. They hand you your order and your spreads, and you go home. That's it.
And where do you do that? Where do you hand off the bagels, the merchandise?
Our locations are in Westport, Connecticut, Reading, Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut, and then wherever we are that weekend, whether it be the Hamptons or Manhattan or New Jersey or wherever.
Neil?
Yeah, Adam, you know, I noticed right away that when I reached out to you on Instagram, you were the one that answered the direct message. You were the one that answered the phone. And for, you know, a business that is so popular and seems to have such a huge customer base already, I wonder if you're going to have to add staff at some point. You know, how many staff do you have? Are you going to add staff to scale?
We have about 5 full-time employees. We have another 12 part-time employees. We do have a lot of staff. You know, the thing I was never really a baker or a dough person until I created this bagel concept and kind of mastered what we think is the perfect bagel. But we have since brought on a great baking team and a great boiling team. And we have unbelievable high school and college kids that work our storefronts every weekend. So, you know, what I've always loved is the marketing side and the people side and our customers. You know, I know them all and very well. So I like answering the direct messages and I like answering the texts and doing all of that. It keeps it fun for me.
What did you do before this, Adam?
So I actually own a flood mitigation business that protects cities and commercial properties. In fact, the backdrop you're looking at there on your screen of Lower Manhattan, I protect probably 45 of those buildings from a future flood event.
How many employees do you have there?
It's a global company based out of Norway. Working with me in the US, I have about 4 people as well as myself.
That's quite a story. And from an entrepreneur's point of view, what really strikes me as interesting is that people who are very successful will often say, I looked at an industry and I saw an opening, or there was some need that I had that the current businesses were not filling. What's so interesting, though, we've all stood in bagel lines waiting for it to be made, almost like a sandwich, like a deli now. And you really saw this in a very unusual, backwards, back to the future way.
That's it. I mean, it really is. that's really what inspired me to get this business going. It was, when we first made our bagels, I was making them with my cousin Jeff for 3 days in our house. And on the fourth day, this was during like a COVID vacation where nobody leaves. And on the fourth day, our wives were like, listen, you got to stop cooking. It's a mess in here. Go to a bagel store. So we went to the bagel shop I'd been going to for 15 years. And when I went to the bagel shop, I realized, first of all, we're waiting online. 20 minutes later, we're getting bagels that have been cooked 8 hours ago. And then we get home and the kids don't want any of the bagels we just picked up because they're just not that good. They're vessels for cream cheese. And we wanted the bagel itself to be the highlight, as well as the cream cheese, by the way. We also, to keep it fresh every week, offer creative cream cheeses that are made by our partners. Every single week is a different flavor. So this week it's honey chipotle made by the Manna Toast restaurant. Next week, we're doing something with Eli's on the Upper East Side of New York, and they're doing their famous scallion cream cheese. So every week we keep it fresh.
That's neat. I saw on Eli's that you come up with a marketing slogan, bagels for the midnight shift, available only till 10 p.m. or something like that. There's so many markets that can be addressed if you have the vehicle to reach them.
Absolutely. Sorry. Had to plug in my computer.
There you're going to grab a bagel. Pass it on.
No.
What's the website, Adam?
The website is popupbagels.com, popupbagels.com.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on what you're doing. Nice, great work.
Thank you. Great to talk with you. And let me know, Joe and Neil, wherever you are in New York, next time I'm there, I'm happy to send some bagels for your taste.
Will do.